Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am so sorry to be starting us 40 minutes late. We had some technical difficulties that we had to work through, but such is life during this post-COVID world, right? But thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Vanessa Gudello. I'm one of your Peekskill City Council members, and I'm very happy to welcome you to another week of our Peekskill City Coronavirus Stakeholder Updates calls. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to all the community leaders for jumping on our call and bearing through the difficulties today. Now, the purpose of these calls is to create a space for community leaders to convene in a COVID-safe way with the intention of helping members of the public to understand and support efforts to respond to the coronavirus crisis by providing weekly updates from key agencies, including ways that we can all pitch in and lessen the burden. These calls do happen on a weekly basis every Thursday, usually at 9:30 a.m. We do live stream these calls in order to generate as much and maximize the amount of impact these calls have. But these do get broadcasted on our government channel after the fact and published on our City of Peekskill webpage as well, in case you can't tune in the mornings. Every week we do rotate stakeholders to give the public the ability to hear from a variety of different agencies and community leaders, as well as from different city departments here at City Hall. But today in particular, we are going to be hearing from Ben Bolton from HRH Care, Dr. David Mauricio, Superintendent of Peekskill City School District, Ellen Gerace from Director of Special Services for the Peekskill City School District, Maria Olivier Flores, who does community outreach for Peekskill City School District. We have Jennifer Brown of Peekskill Field Library, Mary Beth McGowan, who is the Vice President of Peekskill Pride, Cynthia Knox of Caring for Hungry and Homeless of Peekskill, also known as CHOP and Fred's Pantry. And we have one of our own, Joanne Duncan from Peekskill City Human Resources. And we usually do have the mayor and our city manager, Andy Stewart, on the call, but not so unfortunately, they have a very important meeting with the county this morning at 10 a.m. So it'll just be us, Joanne and I from the city, but we'll do our best to manage the comments. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have for any of the leaders who are going to be reporting back today, and we'll try to make sure that they do get asked as we go through the agenda. So starting us off, we have Ben Bolton from HRH Care. Ben Bolton, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
As always, thank you for the opportunity to participate. We really appreciate being part of this effort. As people know, we're moving in New York State in a phase 2, and there are more and more things opening up and more opportunities, but we also want to be very cautious and there's been a lot of confusion about, is this the first wave over, the second wave, and where are we with the course of the virus? And we are still in the first wave. The virus doesn't really follow the news. It does what it wants to do, and we've seen a lot of decreases because of social isolation, but across the different states that have opened up before New York, we're beginning to see increases again in infection rates as much as 7 to 9%. So isolation, masks, hand washing is still a critical part of the control and what's going to be part of us allowing to stay in phase 1 or phase 2 and not revert back to the earlier phases and stricter isolation. Within HRH Care, we're very pleased. Last week, we were able to reopen our dental services, which has a heavy demand, and people can now make in-person appointments for that. And while we've been running telemedicine, seeing almost 14,000 visits every week through telemedicine, starting after the July 4th holiday, we're going to be able to see more patients within our facilities. Because of isolation, we can't see as many in person as we want to in order to maintain the distancing, but we'll certainly be able to get appointments in. That's particularly important for children and people needing vaccines, for other infectious diseases, measles, mumps, rubella, and so on, who haven't been able to get them so far because of closure of services. Within Peekskill right now, there are 24 active cases. 2 weeks ago, we were at 44, so there's a significant drop there. Total Peekskill has on record is 957. That is an increase, but there's also been an increase in testing, so we don't know if we're just seeing more cases or we're just testing more people. In Westchester County, there have been 219,000 tested since the virus began, 34,000 are positive. We're seeing that decreasing, where the daily test rate was showing about 3,000 positive, and on June 16th, we were down to 27 positive. So we're seeing declines there. The county fatality rate is down to 4%. Statewide, it's at 8%. So again, Westchester is doing very well because of the strong social isolation. We should note that a lot of the adjacent areas, New York City, Suffolk, Nassau County, and the tri-state area, are still amongst the 20 highest mortality rates in the country. So we're far from out of the woods. Statewide, there have been over 3 million people tested, and that's a huge increase. 2 weeks ago, we were only at 2.2 million. So the testing effort has really gone up. And we're seeing minor increases in positive tests. It's only about 3%. So that's a very encouraging sign. When we look back to April 14th, which is the peak of the pandemic, the first wave, we had 11,000 positive tests, and on the 16th, we had 560. So again, we're seeing a move in the right direction. Hospitalization rates are well down and well within the bandwidth. Those are sort of the main, epidemiology first level items. Testing has been opened up. The criteria used to be much more stringent. You needed to present and be symptomatic. HRH care in particular for people who might be participating in various activities around equality and social justice, either within the town or within other townships. We will provide testing for them. If it's not covered by insurance and you're not able to self-pay, HRH care will cover those costs. So we encourage everybody who does engage in those activities to, again, be very cautious about the importance of wearing masks, of washing hands, and as much as one can to maintain that social isolation. If there are any questions, be happy.
I'm not seeing any questions from the audience. Do we have any questions from folks on the call? Any of our stakeholders?
Sure. I have, if you're not symptomatic, and again, you practice social distancing and et cetera, and stay as socially isolated as possible, should you still have a test?
It's a discussion you would probably want to have with a provider. It doesn't, and again, there's some confusion over the types of testing. The testing that's primarily done is something called a PCR test, which shows that you have the active virus. You've probably heard, and Councilwoman, I know you had the antibody test done. The antibody test is showing that you have an antibody to the virus. Neither test identifies whether you have an immunity right now. It just shows the presence or the possibility of having the virus in your system. There are no direct treatments because of that. there are asymptomatic carriers, which means you could have the virus, but not show any symptoms and be just fine. Again, there's nothing to suggest that relaxing social isolation is a good thing. As much as you can maintain that isolation, that's the best line of defense. There are no medications to cure this. There are some work with steroids for some severely ill patients that has come out recently. But testing does not confer immunity or doesn't assure you of any level of immunity. It just means, hey, I've got the virus. And again, if you're asymptomatic, it's not really going to be an indicator to change your behavior. If you think you have been exposed, then it's worthwhile because there's a greater indicator that you may want to isolate even further to prevent further spread.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben. We have a question regarding that you're now allowing for essential workers to be tested at the healthcare center.
That's always been the case, essential workers, and really, if you call the HRH line, you'll go through a triage process. There's a questionnaire, but we certainly have the room to test. In the early days, testing was very restricted because of the availability of test kits and so on. But a lot of those restrictions have been lifted. And so if people do want to get tested, and again, this is for what we call the PCR test. This is not antibody testing. People are welcome to call, and we have a number of testing sites, not just in Peekskill, but in other areas of the county.
Got it. Yeah, it looks like this was the case where an individual did try to get tested, but it might have been during one of these times where the criteria to qualify for that was much more restrictive. But I'm glad to hear that that's been that the restrictions have been lessened, so more folks can get tested. That's great to hear. Do we have any other questions from folks on the phone? Otherwise, I'm not seeing anything on Facebook. Okay, not hearing any. Thank you so much, Ben, for joining us this week and every week in the past. You've really provided our community with a lot of clarity around what is the state of our community given the pandemic, and really explain some of the nuance with our situation. So really appreciate you providing that to our community. It's been extremely critical and important. So many thank yous for having you on every week. But next we have up Dr. David Mauricio from the Peekskill City School District, another weekly regular. Thank you, Dr. Mauricio, for being on this morning.
Thank you so much, Councilperson Agudelo, and to all of the individuals on the line. It's always a pleasure to be here and try to update our community with as best information as we have. And so I'm going to be very brief because I would like Ellen Gerace and Maria Flores to have the time to update our community on what we've done as far as their work is concerned. But the 2 or 3 updates that I'd like to share is, one is that tomorrow is the last day of school for our students, and then they will be into summer recess. And so we'd just like to remind everyone that kids will be out playing and be careful of driving, so as our students will certainly be out a little bit more. And we normally see signs that go up, schools out, drive carefully, but those may or may not go out. And so I just wanted to remind the community of that. Second thing I'd like to share is that last night I presented to the board. It's available on our district website. As you scroll down, there's a Board of Education meeting, and if participants scroll into about 15 minutes into the meeting, they will hear me give an update on our reentry plans for next year. or the process of our planning for reentry. And so I talk about the three scenarios that may exist. Is come on the first day with staff. The second scenario is students split scheduled, and so some students attend, half the class attends on Monday and Tuesday, the other half of the class attends on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday is a virtual support day for our students, and that allows parents to make employment arrangements knowing that they have a consistent Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday schedule for students being in school, and allows them to have that consistency. And the third is that we are in a full virtual school environment as we are now. And again, let me just remind the community that all those decisions are directed by the governor. And so we are preparing for all three scenarios, and we will we have a full stakeholder team with parents and teachers and administrators and staff leading those efforts. And so I just wanted to alert the community, if they're interested in hearing about those initial plans or the initial planning process, it's available on our district website under the Board of Education meeting, and I presented that last night. And then in July, I'll do a full presentation with my executive team where we will talk about the actual results of that planning process so that the community knows where we're headed given any of those scenarios. And then finally, want to remind everyone that we're having the senior graduates class of 2020 parade next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, 10:30 a.m. We'll be all lining up, and we're asking the community to come out, make signs, have balloons, have your noise makers, and socially distance. Please wear a mask, be 6 feet apart from each other, and unless you're with your family members who live in your home. And we'd like you to line the streets from Woodside down Union Avenue. We're going to go right up Hudson Avenue, and you can line all the way up Hudson Avenue as well, all the way to Torpy Field, and then right at Torpy Field, we will turn left on Wells and make our way to the high school. And that information is on social media as well. So please make sure you come out, support our class of 2020, 10:30 a.m. Lineup, and then we'll be hitting the road at 11 a.m. So we'd love for the community to be out. And then lastly, if you drive by Torpy Field, much awaited opportunity is now a reality. You'll see, I just drove by just now, and the field is being dug up by the company that we hired to put a new turf field for us, and that whole athletic complex is beginning now, and it should be available to us and our athletes and the community in early November. But I just wanted to share with everyone, we had our groundbreaking ceremony on Friday, and we're so excited to give to our community something that they have long awaited, and that is a new turf field with lights for extended practice. We can have Friday night games like every other community in Westchester has. We have now caught up, and we will have equity for our students and our athletes. And we want to thank all the community members who voted for that in October. We want to thank all the community members who voted for our school budget. Our school budget did pass with a 70% approval rating, and all of our community members who voted for Board of Education members, both Mrs. McDonald and Mr. North, remained in their seats, and so we have consistency moving forward. So a big thank you to everyone in the community. We thank you for your support and patience. And now I'll turn it over to Mrs. Gerace.
So, hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Ellen Gerace. I'm the Director of Special Services for the Peekskill School District of the Central Office. So I'm excited to be here today. So good morning to the community and to all of the stakeholder groups and parents and families watching today. So we're really here to share an update about student support services. Our department oversees special education and medical services, oversees student support services for all students who might be struggling in need of support, and also we have Maria Flores, who oversees our parent, family engagement, and community outreach efforts. So it's really a three-pronged department, and so we're excited to give just a brief update about what we have provided during the time of distant learning since March 13th, since we've been out on remote learning. So we initially set up a new website on our district main page. It's called our new Family Health and Wellness webpage. So I encourage everybody to go and to visit. There's a lot of great resources. We have Karen Faulkner, who is a community member and parent who is a yoga instructor, and we have wellness videos of yoga. We have a teacher there doing mindfulness videos. We also have tips about how to talk to your child about COVID-19, and also some stress reduction activities and other kind of wellness activities as well. So our website is full with resources and information. So that was one thing that we did during COVID-19 to support our families and our students. During this time, we've also done a lot of virtual campaigns. We had a commitment to character campaign that focuses on friendship, how to make connections socially, how to really be in touch with folks, even though everybody needed to be in their homes and on quarantine. We wanted to encourage them for April, and then we had courage and perseverance, and this month is reflection. So we really have had a district-wide theme, and I want to thank the Field Library, who's up next after Maria, for their partnership, because they've also put virtual resources on their website as well for the Commitment to Character campaign. During the month of May, it's National Mental Health Awareness Month, and so we hosted a live conference at the end of May, and we invited our 5 on-site community agencies, WJCS, ANDRIS, Student Assistance Services, Westchester Peer Mediation, and Family Services of Westchester. They all have offices on site at the Peekskill City School District, and they are open virtually. They have been operating and doing telehealth throughout COVID-19, and they are also open over the summer. And they are accepting new clients and new students and families that need support and services for case management and for individual and even group counseling. And they also have parent workshops and parent meetings. So that's been happening since March, and it's continuing into the summer. So if anybody needs mental health or social emotional supports or resources, those agencies are certainly open moving forward throughout the summer. Our clinical team, we have social workers, psychologists, and school counselors in all of our buildings in the district. They have Google Support classrooms set up where they have resources and activities and even checking connects for our kids, so we can take a pulse on how they're doing socially and emotionally. Our teacher pages also are up, and they have a lot of resources and information. With the guidance of Dr. Mauricio, we've developed an at-home learning guide. It's approximately 20 pages, and embedded in that is information about student support services. All of our contact information, if you need help or need to contact somebody, all of the information is in one central location. So the at-home learning guide is a great resource for our families. During this time, we also set up a district warm support line. So we recognize that parents may have difficulty getting in touch with key members in the school district, so we have a warm support line. So if they need resources, they're going through a difficult time or a challenge at home regarding school or otherwise, there's a district warm support line, which is 914-522-0624. And so any family or student could even text that number, call that number. It's 7 days a week from 9 to 9. And so we really encourage our families, if you need help or support, to reach out. And then from there, we can make any assessments, referrals, and connect families to the staff member or even a community agency and partner. In addition to that, we, through special education, held over 500 virtual committee on special education meetings. So that has been interesting, but it's seamless. I just really want to give really a shout out to all of our special education department staff members, because they have really worked tirelessly to make sure that every child has the services and support for next school year. We've also been engaging in telehealth, so some students have mandated services for occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, and speech services. So our providers had to transition into a telehealth world, and so that has been happening remotely as well. And the last thing that we've been doing is really offering help sessions. So we have been fielding calls and really connecting students and families to resources. And our clinical team has really been working on the clock to be a sounding board and kind of a central point person for our students and our families to make sure that their academic, social and emotional needs have been met during this time. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Maria Flores, who runs our Parent Resource Center, and she's going to give just a very quick highlight about all of the resources that have been provided through the Parent Center.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you so much for inviting us here today. We're very happy to be here and connect with the community again. I just wanted to share a few items that we've been doing. One of the things is that we have been working through the Parent Resource Center. So we've had over 150 consultations with parents or families or community members who called in, who wanted resources, referrals, or just had questions that we can help them navigate via the Parent Resource Center. We have also gotten donations. We got a donation of about 500 book baggies that we have been able to share with our community, either through the grab and go meals, through our Hillcrest food distribution sites. So we are very grateful for United Way for providing us those book baggies that we're able to share out with our community. We also have a wonderful partnership with 914 Cares. And they too have been providing us some resources. They have been providing us with diapers every 2 weeks. So we have been sharing that with our communities, with our families as needed. So every 2 weeks, we do get a new shipment of diapers that we're able to share out as needed with our families. In our grab and go meals, which is available every day, Monday through Friday, at Oakside or the high school from 10 to 12 a.m. They have been able to give over 80,000 meals for our families. And besides that, we are also partnered with Feeding Westchester. So we're able to distribute food, extra food in those venues for our families. We get the distribution usually on Tuesdays, and we're able to give it out during the week. We have also continued our Hillcrest food trucks. We have had 3 since COVID. Our 4th one will be next Tuesday at 3:30 at Hillcrest School. And again, that's another venue where we are able to share and give out food to our community and connect with our families and our community members. We also had our first virtual Saturday Academy on May 16th. We had some of the activities that we've usually done in our regular Saturday Academy, as well as we had some mini commercials from our partners saying hi to our community, letting them know that they're still there to serve and be there with them. And we had over 380 families who connected with us on that day. And this virtual Saturday Academy was done in collaboration with one of our neighboring districts, Ossining Schools. So we're very proud of that. What we will be continuing during the summer is we're going to keep the Parent Resource Center open 1 day a week. So we want to continue that resource, the consultations, and helping our families. We're also going to continue sharing and disseminating information as we get it to our community. We will continue with some of our virtual family virtual workshops with our families and our community. And one of the things that's very exciting that we're in the process of collaborating with is working with some of our community partners to see how we can help support our families in logging into this virtual world. We're seeing how we can get different communities, different partners together to help us with some of our families who might not feel as comfortable logging in and navigating and utilizing this new virtual world that we're all in. So that is one of our goals that we're trying to do, planning this summer and really throughout, making sure that we all have access to this new world. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us here today.
Absolutely, and thank you, Maria and Ellen, so much for making it this morning and for sharing with us all the incredible efforts you're putting forth to ensure that our kids, our families are being taken care of during these hard times. I did have a question in terms of the food distribution. Is there anything to report? Like, do you see more families coming to the food distribution drop-offs or less? How, I know it's been a couple months now. Is there
Mhm.
like a trend that you've been seeing?
That's a great question. I think in the beginning when we first started, we didn't see a heightened number. Now we're seeing a consistent number.
Okay.
So with the food distribution, we are seeing that consistency. And we're also seeing a variety of age groups. So we're seeing many people from the community coming out. And I think the more information we get out there, and kudos to the city because they have really done a wonderful job with the website and getting all of these sites and the information out there. I'm seeing more than we have in the past, pre-COVID, but definitely with the consistent numbers. I would say with the last month, we're seeing, you know, some similar faces, and that lets me know that they really are, you know, they need this. They're depending. This is something that's much needed in our community.
Thank you for that. Do we have any questions from folks on the phone? Not seeing any questions. Let's see if there's anyone on our Facebook page. I'm not seeing any question from folks watching. For those of you who are tuning in, it looks like we have about 12 people tuned in. Please feel free to share this video on your personal page, on your newsfeed, on group pages. Again, we want to really optimize the reach that these videos get because it is really great information that tends to be hard to find all in one place. So I really hope that you're making good use of these stakeholder calls. Next up, we have Jennifer Brown from the Peekskill Field Library. Ms. Brown, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much. I have a short presentation that I would like to bring up. Before I open the presentation, I did want to tell everybody that the library has opened as of Monday on a limited basis. And this presentation will tell you what the rules and procedures are for our opening. So let me open that now. And okay, so we are reopening in stages. Each stage progressively provides more and more services. The stage we are in right now is stage 1. And stage 1 is that the library is open for lobby pickup. So what that means is you can place items on hold through the automation system or by calling the library, and they will be available by appointment in the lobby, and you will not step into the library. You will be on the outside of the main door and we will hand you the bag. It's very similar to doing takeout food, which we all should be very familiar with at this point. You will need your library card or ID in order to pick up your items, and we just compare that to the checkout slip. Right now, because this is a pickup service, we are limiting the total number of items to 10 items per library card and a limit of 2 reservations per week. Again, patrons will not be allowed to come into the building, therefore restrooms and access to the library is not available during stage 1. So what I have up is the information on how you can place an item on hold either through the automation system or the phone numbers for the reference desk and the children's reference desk. If you call, at the time of your call, we will schedule your appointment time. There is a 24-hour turnaround. That is to give us time to pull the items and to have them ready for you to pick up, for it to go through the automation system. If you place it by computer, we will call you when your items are ready and schedule the time for your pickup. Pickup is done in 15-minute increments so that there is no overlap. So you will not be coming at the same time that anybody else is coming. You can go ahead and start returning your items. I want to say, first of all, thank you to everybody who had items checked out during this time and held on to them for months now. When we closed, it was I think for everybody, unexpected, and everybody just had their normal checkouts. So we will now take them back. What happens with your items when you return them is we quarantine them for 72 hours. So we don't touch them until they have been sitting in quarantine for 72 hours, and then they're checked back in. So I want to reassure you, if you still see them on your account and you've turned them in, give us time. We are now starting to clear the backlog. The other thing I really want people to know is that we have suspended all overdue fines during this. So you will not be charged a late fee for turning in your items late. We understand at this point you may have to find all your items because they've been sitting in your house for 3 months, and that is perfectly fine. Turn them in when you find them. We are suspending late fees until after Labor Day weekend. So give you time through the summer and for the library to reopen in order to return your items. Our pickup hours are limited. I have the hours listed here. This is when your appointment times will be. Monday from 10 to 2, Tuesday from 4 to 8, Wednesday from 4 to 8, Thursday from 10 to 2, Friday from 12 to 4, and Saturday from 10 to 2. Now you might be curious why those hours. We worked around when the food distribution is being done on Tuesdays in front of the library so that we didn't have overlap, again, to reduce the number of people that are in front of the library at any one time. So we made our pickup hours after the food distribution. So that was the Tuesday logic. The other reason is we wanted to make sure that we were offering hours that were convenient for people. So we have some daytime, some evening, some weekend, and some lunch hours. And it is also because we are still operating on reduced staffing. That is to keep the number of staff in the library down to a minimum. So we will be starting our stage 2 after July 6th. Stage 2 means that we will be opening the library on a limited basis. We are going to offer senior only hours on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9:30 a.m. So if you are a senior, you can come in from 9:30 to 10:30. There will be nobody else in the library but you and the staff. We will close at 10:30 to clean in between opening for seniors and then opening for the general public. That is a routine that we are going to have throughout stage 2, where we periodically break through the day for cleaning. As you can see, our regular service hours are going to be Monday through Thursday, 11 to 2, and then break for cleaning, then 2:30 to 5, and then 5:30 to 9, except for the children's room, that's going to be 5:30 to 8. I should have put that on the slide, I apologize. And then Friday will be 11 to 2, and then 2:30 to 5. We do normally close at 5 on Friday, and Saturday 10 to 2. We are entering our summer hours, so we will not be open on Sundays. And again, the reason for these breaks is to allow for cleaning and sanitizing. So for stage 1 and stage 2, you must wear a mask. You need a mask in order to pick up your items now in the lobby, and you will need a mask in order to come into the library. This is New York State law, and it will be enforced. You need to bring your library card or ID, as I mentioned before, whether that is in stage 1 or stage 2. In stage 2, we are going to limit the amount of time anyone can be in the library to 1 hour. That is partially because we have occupancy limits, and in order to be able to have a number of people come into the library, we have to limit the amount of time any one person spends in the library. The other is because current research from the CDC says that extended exposure tends to be more problematic than limited exposure. So we are factoring in that if we keep it to an hour, it will limit the amount of exposure you have in the library. Unfortunately, public computers will not be available. We have removed all chairs, and part of that is because it is very difficult to disinfect keyboards and computer mice. So we are removing them temporarily until we move to a future stage. And for the same reason, faxing and copying will not be available because we cannot disinfect electronic equipment. We do ask that you limit your conversations with library staff. When you come in, you will notice some changes. We do have plexiglass on all of our service desks. That's a safety feature just to protect any type of transmission. And again, fines will be suspended during stage 2. So I will take any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown, for that very. Sorry, I was getting a background from the video. So sorry about that. We've been having a lot of hurdles this morning. Thank you so much for the very thorough presentation. I learned a lot from that. I'm not seeing any questions on my end from Facebook. I don't know if anyone on the call has questions they'd like to ask regarding the field library. Not seeing any.
I don't have any questions, but I want to thank you for that presentation. It was very informative, and I think it will give everyone enough information to know how to navigate the library while it goes through phase 2.
Thank you so much. We've tried to make it as clear as possible. We are fortunate in that we are able to model from examples of retail that has already reopened, and we're working with Westchester Library Systems so that all of the libraries in Westchester have a coordinated effort so that we are all trying to do very similar processes and procedures.
And all the services that you had available online will continue to be available even after the opening, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We do still highly encourage people to use our online services, which have been tremendous. And we have invested within Westchester Library System over $100,000 in ebooks since this has started. So we have thousands of new titles that are now available for download. And these include ebooks for all ages, for children, teens, adults. And the databases that are available have been really tremendous in helping for learning. We have tutoring that's still available, which will be available during the summer for a lot of the students who feel that they perhaps have gotten left behind when everything went to the online format. We do still have tutoring available.
Great. Well, thank you so much. The field library really is such a resource for our community and really a pillar. So we appreciate. I'm very happy to hear that it's opening up. That folks are going to be able to bring back their books. I'm sure. I'd be curious to hear what the percentage of books have been missing or have been out for this whole time. Just out of curiosity. Not that really helps any of us, but it would just be interesting to know.
Over 3,000. I actually have that
wow.
number. It's over 3,000 items were out at the time that we shut down.
So you've got quite the task in sanitizing all of those books. So so we really appreciate all your efforts, especially the efforts of the cleaning staff, because I know that this is going to be something new. It's the same thing for us at City Hall. It's all these new things that we need to do to ensure that we're taking the right precautions to keep our residents safe. So we really appreciate your flexibility and willingness. Not that we have much of a choice, but at least we're doing it with a smile, right?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Next up, we have Mary Beth McGowan from the Peekskill Pride, Vice President of Peekskill Pride. Thank you so much for joining us, Mary Beth.
Thank you for inviting us. Again, I know we started a little late, so I'm going to try to, and I'll be happy to come back if needed in the future. I do have a business call at 11 o'clock, so I'll be as brief as possible. So again, Peekskill Pride is an organization that we finally, after in 2016, group of community or neighbors got together, and we continued to try to bring that outreach to make the community feel at home and to make sure that we had a presence visible in the community for not only existing residents and visitors, but also maybe new residents that might be interested in moving to one of the most beautiful communities on the Hudson. So we incorporated in 2019 as a 501c3 organization. As you know, and some people on this phone know, usually for the June month, which is Pride Month, we usually have a larger event to celebrate Pride and again have visibility in the community. But due to the social distancing and the quarantine, that, like many organizations, found it impossible to continue to plan and do. So instead, what we have done, again, over both June and July, we have scheduled various events. We have up to 12 events planned. We actually had already started them with a queer trivia with Let's Get Trivia on June 12th. And we have partnered with both HRH Care as well as New York Presbyterian to do some informational chats about, again, HRH Care already presented on the 16th. And they did some information about PrEP and PEP. We will continue again through the month of June and July. So all of the events that are planned are free of charge. We do require a registration. So anyone who is interested, both in the LGBTQ community, plus community, as well as our allies, family, and friends, are welcome to join in. Again, some of them are all should be fun. We're hoping that we get some participation. Again, they are free of charge. There are a handful of events that would require some purchase of products. We're looking to do a Learn to Bake a Rainbow Swirl Bread. So those kinds of events will require a small purchase of a package that you would then bring home and join a Zoom meeting and learn how to bake bread. This particular will be a rainbow swirl bread. I'm kind of excited about that one. If anyone needs additional information about the events, they can go to our webpage, www.peekskillpride.org. It is very user-friendly. It has lots of information about the organization, the beginnings of the organization. So again, both the LGBTQ community, as well as everyone else, can feel very isolated at this point. In some, it's a little more of a struggle. Again, depending upon your status as being out or not. So this allows us to try to form a community that is supportive to people who are finding maybe it a little challenging to get some more socialization. I realize it's via Zoom or the internet, but again, it at least gives some folks who may be feeling at this point, after 90 days in isolation, a little break in that challenge. Again, anyone who's interested in joining the events can come to www.peekskillpride.org. If anybody has questions or needs additional information, please feel free to also email us at peekskillpride@gmail.com. Again, we have really got the core group of with the nonprofit, and once we have a little more time to and quarantine, or phase 2 and phase 3 comes in, we would like to build some more relationships within the school district and other community partners, so that we can both disseminate information for people, but also make sure that, again, we're visible in the community and out in the community, so that people know that this is a very diverse and friendly community. And again, we all have our challenges as a community, but it allows people to know that this is a welcoming place, and that there is a core group or an established group of LGBTQ plus community to welcome them in. So that's where we are right now. Again, we are also on the website. We started with 4 board members. We've moved to 7. We're always looking for more people who want to get involved. So again, if people refer to the website, there's a small application if they're interested in being a board member, or all are welcome. So again, if anybody wants additional information, that's where they could go. And I don't mean to cut everybody short, but I do have an 11 o'clock. So I'm happy to join again if anybody has any questions. I have a couple minutes, but.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. We really appreciate you being on this morning. And again, really sorry about the technical difficulties
It
that made us
happens.
start
It
so
happens.
late. But really appreciate you coming and letting us know how the community can continue to celebrate Pride Month. Could you, I know you mentioned it, but you do have events coming up this weekend, right?
Yes, we actually have an event this evening. It's the scavenger hunt and dance party. It's tonight. It starts at 8. It's from 8 to 10.
Okay.
Next Tuesday, we have, again, a health talk with NYP Hudson Valley about a pandemic update. Next Thursday, June 25th, we have a swing and social that will start at 8 p.m. It's a live dance class with some socializing swing music for folks to get into. And June 27th, we have a Sing Together, Stay Apart, which is a karaoke event. June 30th, we have a mixology. So we have a lot of, we're hoping that they're fun and engaging events. And again, if everybody wants the full list, they can go to the www.peekskillpride.org. I also should mention, I want to thank our partners or sponsors, which were, again, M&T Bank, which is the local bank downtown, as well as HRH Care, have been very supportive in funding. Even though we had to cancel, again, our Pride event, they're still supportive and helping us to continue to foster and grow the diversity in the community.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate all the creativity from you and your team and making these really creative virtual events happen.
We're trying.
I'm looking forward to joining into at least one of them because they sound really fun, and it's too bad that we're not having a Pride event this month. I mean, it's absolutely reasonable and I get it, but I do have to say that that first one that year, was it 2018? It was.
Well, we've done 2, but the 18 year was the biggest event so far. And again, we were attempting to try to build on that, but again, quarantine came. So, but there's always next year.
But you guys do know how to throw some really great parties, so I will give you that.
And again, one of the events we were trying to do is sort of do a car parade because of isolation. Been some challenges in getting permits or I guess maneuvering in the city how one does that. Again, maybe it's a little different than a normal parade, but we may be able to figure that out as well, in which case that would be a culminating event.
Okay, well, we could definitely talk offline about that, but that would be great. I'd love to see something like that happen. Well, I won't take any more time away from you. Thank you so much, Mary Beth, for joining us.
I apologize that I have to leave, and thank you again for everyone who participates and welcoming us into this call. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Have a great Thursday.
You too.
So next up, we have Cynthia Knox from Caring for the Hungry and Homeless of Peekskill. Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you, and timing is everything. There was a huge truck that pulled up just a couple minutes ago outside on the other side, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just about to unmute, but it has gone. That's great. So thank you for the invitation to be here. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate all the work that folks are doing in Peekskill. It's just such a rich, diverse community, and really, really wonderful. If you could pull my slides up, I'll just go really quickly because I know folks have other stuff they need to get to today. I'm just going to talk about Fred's Pantry real briefly, and then an update on Jan Peek House. Thank you. So if you can go to the slide number 2. Thanks. And if you can hover over the line for the second week in June, that'll give the number, the total. The light blue one right at the very top. If you go to the very top,
I don't think it's giving me a number.
oh, that's so odd, because when I do it, although obviously I can't do it now, that's how I get the reading of the actual number to be able to share. So just give me a second then. I think I might have to leave to minimize this. So I'll just do it orally. The numbers won't be as precise as they usually are, but they're on our website too. So, you know, essentially they're fairly straightforward that you see, you know, where we've had some huge spikes, and then it goes down a little bit and then back up again, then back up again. And this line represents around 450 individuals. I don't remember the specific number. And this line from the same time last year represent 98 individuals. So the increase is huge. And we don't yet know why we see these spikes on some weeks and then it goes down a little bit. So hopefully as we're working together in the city on food distribution, that'll answer some of the questions. Is it because of other food distributions that are happening on those weeks that impact that, or is it something else? So you can see, again, this is very similar to information I've provided on other weeks, that the number of individuals has increased 422%. And obviously that's a huge number. And I think Maria Flores made the point earlier that, you know, it's very clear that these are people who are coming back again and again because they need the food. And these are also people who are going to different food distributions because, you know, at Fred's Pantry, like the other pantries, we focus on providing nutritious food. We give a protein, fruit and vegetables, shelf-stable items, but someone doesn't get enough to feed a family for the week. So that's why people have to utilize the various pantries, because now many people don't have that income that they had where they could utilize a pantry and go to the supermarket and supplement that. If you could just bring up the next slide, I'll just real briefly, again, for some reason, when you hover over it, it doesn't seem to pull up the number, but you see the similar thing, the line for week of June 2nd recent, that represents, I think it's about 1,700 people for total number of household members. I don't remember what it is for the previous year, but obviously it's significantly smaller. So we're just continuing Wednesday afternoon from 4 to 6 and Saturday morning from 8:30 to 11 at St. Peter's Episcopal Church, 137 North Division Street. We do a socially distanced food pantry. In terms of the Jim Peak House, we are working on reopening plans, although we have never closed, but we have had a lot of staff working off-site, and we've had robust social isolating and sanitizing procedures. So now we're working on plans to safely bring back additional staff, maybe on staggered work schedules, how we can have clients safely in social general common areas, so that, excuse me, that means marking off where people can sit, where they can be in the dining area, etc. So we're moving forward cautiously, and masks are still required, throughout the entire facility, and we'll continue that for as long as necessary. And we have clients in their own apartments in our domestic violence supportive housing program, and they're doing fine getting their case management services. Case managers are now starting to go out physically to meet with clients, and the same for our housing program for individuals with a disability. So again, we are cautiously moving forward to bring back the full breadth of services pre-COVID. So that's it, and thank you for this opportunity to update folks in Peekskill about what we're doing.
Well, thank you so much, Cynthia, for everything that you do, and all the folks at Fred's Pantry and CHOP and all the volunteers. Thank you for everything you're doing to ensure that our folks are being fed. I know that it's hard for so many of us during these really troubling times, and we're really at a, I mean, now we're reopening, and folks are maybe seeing the end in sight in terms of their inability to work and or find work. But this is going to be something that we, it's not going to be something we get over overnight. Recovery is going to take time, and that time is most likely to take years. So we really appreciate everything you're doing to coordinate these efforts in the long term as well, and tracking this data, because I do think that it's going to give us a lot of allow us to make really informed decisions for the future of these sites. So we really appreciate all that work.
Thank you, and thank you to the community. It takes a community, right?
Absolutely, it definitely does. Do we have any questions from folks on the phone or on the line? I'm not seeing any on Facebook either, though I do have a question for Miss Brown. It looks like someone asked where they should park for library pickup.
Hi, bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm still here.
No worries.
Okay. So the library parking is in the regular, where you would normally park at the library. There's 30-minute free parking right next to City Hall, or you can park in the parking garage across the street in the Nelson parking garage.
Got it. Thank you so much. Not seeing any other questions. I'm going to move us forward to our last speaker. We have Joanna Duncan, who is Director of our Human Resources at the City of Peekskill. Joanna, thank you so much for bearing with us and for being on this morning.
Thank you so much for your perseverance. So since March 18, the city moved into remote operations. in compliance with, the governor's orders to do our portion as a community to slow the spread of COVID-19. So for the majority of our staff, except for police, fire, water, and building, staff has been telecommuting, which has been successfully done because we have learned we are still able to provide services to the city of Peekskill virtually. So some action items for this week: we are preparing for safe reopening by the end of June. So right now we are preparing our employees to adapt to new safety protocols. So definitely regular hand washing, observing social distancing. So once City Hall is open to the public, visitors and residents can expect that you will see plexiglass in the areas that you receive in-person service. There will be temperature checks. We will be requiring, face coverings in accordance with the governor's orders, and we will be providing hand sanitizer upon entry and exit. So we want to do our part to ensure that everyone stays safe whenever they are interacting with us to receive any public services. So we just really want to thank the public. We appreciate your patience as we together stay safe. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for that information. And I know we're really excited to start opening up City Hall again. Though it's going to be, again, there are going to be hurdles there, but I'm really confident that our team is up for the task, and appreciate all the work, all the hard work you've all been doing and putting in, even from home. So really, really appreciate everything that city staff has been doing thus far, and I know that you all will do a really great job in the coming months. Though it may be hard, but I know that you're all up for the task. So thank you again. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions from folks on the phone, or let me see if we have anything on Facebook. Sorry, I'm over here multitasking. I'm not seeing any other questions. Some of these questions come out of order. But if there's no other questions, I just want to thank everyone so much for being on this call again. Really, really apologize for all the technical difficulties. I know a few folks had to jump off the call because we're way past our usual timing for these morning calls. But I do want to just remind folks that if you have any other information that you'd like to get from our stakeholders, or any information in particular to the response the city is making in our reopening of City Hall, and just our general response around COVID-19, please feel free to visit our city website at www.cityofpeekskill.com. Please continue to follow public health guidance, including frequent hand washing, social distancing, and wearing of masks in public spaces to help slow the spread of virus and enable our medical services to meet the growing demand. These are indeed really crazy times, so let's continue to take care of each other. If this pandemic has shown us anything, it's shown us that we are more dependent on each other than we've ever been. So let's continue to take the proper precautions to limit the spread of the virus, and check in on each other if you need help. You do not need to suffer alone. So if there's ever, for folks who are watching at home, for our community leaders, our stakeholders, if there's anything the city can help with, if there's anything our community can help with, please don't hesitate to ask. But thank you so much for being on this call, and I hope you all have a happy Thursday. See you all next week.
Thank you,
Bye,
Council
everyone.
Member. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.